So welcome everyone to Banana Bread Trades. Name is Goose. We're live streaming this in Discord, and we're gonna go over our whole ass weekly outlook as well as cover a few topics. I'm going to cover 3 topics before we get into what we think is going to happen this week. Number 1, inflation. I've seen a lot of people get confused about how inflation can be at 3%, but prices of everything are very high. Basically, more people complaining about the CPI numbers. What CPI measures is the rate of inflation or the rate of price increasing. So while prices may be at their highest they are right now, they are not increasing as fast as they have been in past years, which is why we have a lower CPI number. So that's the first thing we want to go over. Second thing, I am doing the 20 Apex account challenge. It's not really, I would say it's not like Apex made this challenge or something, but I posted in that one channel here in Discord. I have my 20 Apex accounts all starting over at 0. I converted everything to my LLC, mostly for tax purposes. So feel free to check out that section of the Discord. I'm going to be updating that every single day, going over the trades I have taken, what my P&L is, and we're going to be updating that, like I said, every single day so you guys can see the entire journey. And then the last thing, also new to the Discord, is Club 200. Anyone can feel free to join that as well. That is basically what we're doing is anyone can get a funded or live account, and we're going to be keeping track of everyone's week-to-week streak of getting between $200 and $300 every single week. This is more so to teach consistency and reaching an attainable target every single week, because a lot of people, everyone will probably say they can make $200 a week pretty easy because it's an obtainable target, with appropriate leverage if you're in the right size account. But what happens is a lot of people end up giving back because they're shooting for much higher numbers. They're shooting for $1,000, $2,000, $3,000 a week. And when we scale back and we look at like, hey, let's take the easy base hits every single week, we end up being farther ahead 6 months down the road than we are overshooting those goals. So basically, we're teaching some people how to walk before they can run, while then also, a lot of us putting our money where our mouth is and saying like, hey, I can easily attain $200 a week. And worst case scenario in doing this challenge, you're going to make 10 grand at the end of the year, right? If you think it's a super easy challenge, well, it's a free 10 grand to you. It's a good vacation account. If you want to think about it like that, you can take a nice expensive vacation. So that's in the Discord as well. Feel free to join into that. And like I said, lots of perks to that as well. If you are able to stay profitable for 5 months, you're going to get the verified trader role. And like I said, at the end of the year, you get 10K. So that you've made yourself. So it's a fun little challenge that we're doing just to kind of, like I said, teach and prove consistency. So let's go ahead and hop into the week here. As you can see, we are within, 15,860 to 1670. We're really close to within 1,000 points of all-time high on NQ. I still have been charting ES. It's getting up there too. But I'm not trading ES right now. The harmonics on ES are, we're in a slow grind up on ES, but the harmonics are just super, super low. I think Thursday was barely more than 5 points. Friday was a little bit better. Haven't got the updated harmonics on what Friday was yet, but until it gets back up to around 10, I'm just kind of staying away from ES because 5 points is what I like to shoot for on ES. And if the harmonic is right around 5 points, I've got to nail the bottom of the average wave just to get my full take profit. And that's a lot of work for, with the risk reward I have right now, one contract ES, that's a lot of work for $250 to be really exact. Whereas I feel like I can get that on NQ a lot quicker, easier, and a lot less stress. because yes, you do have to sit in those trades for a little bit longer. I really don't like sitting in a trade all day just to make 250 bucks. So yeah, sticking with NQ for now. Plus, NQ's just been a little bit more clean. We do have the rebalance coming on NQ 24th, I do believe. Hold on, I'm going to reply to Slade real quick. Yeah, we do have the rebalance coming on the 24th, I do believe. That's probably going to slow down our pretty steep ascent that we've got going right now. It's just going to make it a little less reactive to the top 6 stocks that are in the NQ right now: Apple, Microsoft, and a few of those others. So yeah, it's just gonna kind of rebalance it and make them, I think, 48% or some number like that. We'll be looking for that coming next week, I do believe. And then I believe we actually got the numbers on Friday. I didn't look at it exactly, but I mean, they don't really necessarily matter to me too much right now. It's more of, we'll see how it affects the volatility in NQ. And I don't think it's going to be some sort of massive change either. It's just going to, like I said, it's just going to be more of a change in the volatility. And we'll see what that effect is. But yeah, within 100 or 1,000 points here of all-time highs on NQ. We actually put in quite a bit of volume here at the 1,500 level. We chopped around there for a little bit, and then we did break above, right? So we put in some volume on the monthly profile too. We put in a pretty nice P profile, which could have gave us the sign to, you know, sell off. We did not. We actually broke above, which signals another uptrend. However, looking at the daily chart, we put in quite the hammer candle there. I'm not too much of a candle trader. I'm more so looking at volume. So one of two things is going to happen. We're going to come back. We're going to retest the top of this consolidation zone. And then I believe we will continue up. Or we short squeeze, right? We have a lot of people that are probably hopping in shorts here. We get ourselves a little bit of a short squeeze, do a fake out sell, right? A lot of people get short, we get a bunch of buying, all of a sudden all these shorts hop out, and then get a nice little squeeze up to all-time high, and then maybe get our rebalance, pull back a little bit, catch some volume for the next move up. So I'm going to be really patient come Monday. We'll see what Globex does overnight when London opens, see if anything happens there. But yeah, more so being flat for tonight, at least seeing what open brings us, see where we're at. Like I said, if we sell off, get to the top of that previous consolidation zone, I'll be looking for longs here. This is kind of a breakout situation, right? We had this consolidation, break out above, come back, retest, and continue the move. Or maybe we do fail and we break down below and we go kind of fill some of this volume that was left void down here, right? We'll just move down to the next volume area, put in some volume, then maybe make another move up. But yeah, we'll see what, like I said, what Monday brings. And then we'll have another Discord session as well Tuesday morning. We're probably going to make that a thing where every Tuesday morning we're going to hop in voice chat in Discord pre-market. Everyone can come hang out, talk. Maybe we'll talk about Monday and where we think the rest of the week will go, right? Because, I mean, we can make our Sunday predictions. But a lot of times Monday will throw that completely out the window. So, yeah, it's good to kind of all get together, talk about what our plans are. And that's what we'll definitely be doing Tuesday morning. Probably start talking about an hour pre-market, I think. Yeah, that's as far as I got as macro view goes. Not this week, but the following week is FOMC. So make sure you are aware of that. We could have probably spend this week pricing in whatever is going to happen next week. But this week is pretty light in terms of news. We do have a lot of real estate news. So Monday we have RBA meeting minutes. Not really sure what that is actually. But yeah, but that's actually happening in Globex, not actual regular trading hours. The next thing we have on Tuesday is some Canadian stuff, and then 1 hour pre-market we have US retail sales. That could give us a little bit of a spurt, but I don't expect that to set the trend for a day. More so just going to be a nice volatile move there, 1 hour before open. We do have industrial production 15 minutes before open. That one, again, just going to be a nice little, add a little bit of volatility and spice to the day, but not actually going to set a trend. The overall trend, whatever direction it is, I believe will take over. And then moving on to Wednesday, we have U.S. housing starts number. So this one is important for the new housing being developed and everything, what's being sold, what's being developed. So that'll be an hour pre-market. That's going to give us a little bit of that. That is somewhat of an inflationary statistic, but more so heavy on the real estate side, obviously. And I don't know. I don't put too much weight on the real estate market. I know a lot of finance people that you see on Twitter and YouTube do put a lot of weight on it, but they also have a lot invested into real estate. But the overall market view, whether houses are selling or not, people are still spending their money on other goods too. So like I say, Apple doesn't really care if your house is expensive or if a new house is being built. The next thing that we have is crude oil inventories. So for anyone trading CL, that'll be happening as well. I don't trade oil, so not worried about it. Moving on to Thursday, we have jobless claims. That is a big one. That's a big inflationary statistic. So I do look for that one to possibly set a trend today if it's a big miss or a big beat. So yeah, we'll watch for that one. Like I said, that one can cause a lot of spice in the day. And then existing home sales, another real estate news event happening 30 minutes after open on Thursday. Like I said, I don't expect that one to rocket ship us up or down and start a huge trend, but we'll probably add a little bit of volatility for 30 minutes while that gets settled out. Then we move on to Friday. I say some UK stuff, some Canadian stuff, but that stuff to me doesn't really affect the US market. Or at least I don't look too heavily into it to affect the US market. So yeah, that's our news for the week. Nothing really crazy happening during the regular trading hours. Like I said, FOMC is next week. We had a really good CPI. So our outlook for that is either they continue pausing rates, which that seems to be what the market is pricing in, or I could see a 0.2 or 25 basis point hike. There's really no reason to do it with inflation currently tapering the way it is, right? It's somewhat under control, but if they have some sort of other statistic that they're looking at to maybe wrangle it in just a little tighter, I could see that happening as well. So I'm not really going to rule out one or the other or bias too heavily in one direction or the other. We'll see what they say. And if they do the 25 basis point hike, obviously we're going to pull back a little bit, but I expect the bull trend to continue, right? We might have a day or two of some selling, collect some volume. People will realize, yeah, everything's still fine. And then we will just continue the march upwards. So yeah, we have to also be very careful though, as we near all-time highs. If anyone was trading in 2020, in early 2021, when we were marching all-time highs, that trading does get kind of difficult because it gets really low volume, like we've seen, low volume, very grindy, and every once in a while we get those late end-of-day sell-offs. And there's one really good thing that I've noticed with the end-of-day sell-offs. I'm going to pull that up right now, and this also goes for end-of-day buy-ups as well. Let me see if I can pull this up. So for me, in a browser, and then we'll open this one up in browser as well. So for me, there's two things that I look at when market opens or closes, and we have a bear example and a bull example here as well. So hedge pressure and half gap on QQQ. Both of those are very high statistic plays. Like they should test statistically, it's over 75% every day. One of those should test, right? Each of them has that 75% statistic. What we have been seeing sometimes is we will open and we will immediately rip or dump. right? So like, let's say we gap up overnight, market opens, and then immediately just skyrockets straight up without touching half gap or hedge pressure. Those days, I don't play the initial balance continuation play, right? You all know I love initial balance. I'm not shooting for those long plays because we left those two statistics down below. Those also get very difficult for me to trade as well because I am looking to take those longs at half gap or hedge pressure, right? And when they don't test in the morning, a lot of times I get left behind. I will get left behind more often than not when one of those do not test because I'm waiting. I'll have my orders ready at those areas. Those are the areas I'm looking to long. Half gap, hedge pressure, and the end of a wall. So if I don't get any of those, like I said, a lot of times I'll just miss. And like I won't get a single trade in this entire day until maybe I'll take a long half gap end of day or hedge pressure end of day. But a lot of times I'm really not around the end of the day, or sometimes like I said, if it's late in the day, I don't trust those moves as much, especially when we've retraced so much. I have another example here from a red day. We gap down overnight, pretty big gap down as well, right? Open, immediately flush, right? And we don't touch hedge pressure or half gap. We sell off, we get to the edge of a wall. I actually got long on this one. You guys can go check daily review. I took a long here because we did get to the edge of a wall. We got to a long area. And we didn't test hedge pressure or half gap, right? And we know those are going to test. Both of those have over 75% should test every single day. So we have targets in mind. And I got long down here and I held along to hedge pressure. I really wanted to hold a runner to half gap, but I had actually sold my first contract at the opening price. And then I had one contract left and I got rid of it at hedge pressure. So I didn't have any runners left to hold the half gap. If I did, I definitely would have held another runner to half gap. I know Seth Mo tried and his runner just ended up dying at hedge pressure, which is still fine. You still die in profit. But it's a really, really good statistical area to look for. I think the 50% IB extension was also at half gap. There's just a lot of things that lined up right there that we wanted and didn't get. Yeah, like I said, if I had 3 contracts on, or if I was long more micros, I definitely would have held a runner to half gap. So those are 2 things that I look for and really pay attention to when we're in these low volume grinds. Like I said, if we do not test one of those on a day, then a lot of times I will not get in a trade just because of that afternoon potential for a sell-off back to one of those high statistical testing areas. So yeah, and we could also just continue grinding up or down the entire day. We don't have to go test those areas. Like I said, there's statistics fail sometimes. But yeah, it's more so I will wait till we get back to those levels to enter a position, not trade necessarily to them unless I have a situation like this where I can get long. So yeah, that's pretty much all I got for the longer term outlook. We can look at some short term levels that we left over the last week. On the right, we have monthly volume profile. The orange is last week's volume profile. And
Yo, Goose.
Yo,
Before we move on, I'd like to say something that I think a lot of traders, maybe not myself, my style is crazy, but a lot of traders like really can miss about those plays that you just mentioned is that you'll actually stay flat. And I know we all talk about patience, but you're like the one person who will actually stay flat and not make a trade, right? We all know it. It's like repeatable advice everyone's heard before, but how many people put it into practice? To me, like you're one of the very few that actually put it into practice. And I think that's super important to highlight.
yeah, that's more so just because I've, effed up enough times of not sitting flat, and I've had so many days where I didn't sit flat and I ended up losing, where it's like I should have just sat flat and waited for the next day. So yeah, it just comes by trial by fire. You touch fire enough, you learn that it's hot, and that's something that just I think comes with experience.
Yeah, and I think one easy way to test like if this is true to you or not, it's like have you ever been flat a day? Have you ever been flat a single day and it wasn't because you're busy, it wasn't because of anything, was it because you enforced patience? most people, including myself, the answer is no.
Yeah, and I'd agree with that as well. You know, some people feel like they have to get a trade in, and feeling like you have to get a trade in versus saying like, hey, I'm not being forced to trade. That can hurt you a lot. And a lot of times, especially like you'll see in my 20 Apex accounts, right? That's a lot of leverage that I have going on right there. I mean, I'm only using one MNQ per account, but when you add all those in together, that is 2 MNQ. There's a lot of money on the line. Like when I take $100 loss on each account times 20, that's a 2K loss in total. It's painful. So I'm very, very patient, especially on that account. Unless I'm absolutely forced to trade. Now, some people, they find it a little bit easier to have like their main account and then their degenerate account. I know sometimes I get a little bit degenerate in my Bullinox account compared to my Apex accounts. And sometimes people need that just to cover the urge. But ultimately, like you said as well, if people were just patient and waited for that setup that forced them to take a trade, overall, they would be so much better off in the long run. But like I said, that sometimes you got to get burned to learn. But if nothing else, yeah, we'll move back on to our volume levels here. And as you can tell, on this monthly volume profile, we put in a lot of volume down there at 15,100, that whole 15,100, 15,200 area. And this profile here looks extremely, extremely trendy. We haven't put in any big volume areas. We've just continued putting in a little bit of volume, and it's been that low volume, slow grind up. And until we see any big accumulation of volume, I can't really be short biased. That's why I think tomorrow, unless we get a lot of volume overnight placed somewhere, I believe that we're setting up for a short squeeze, a fake out from that daily candle. I know you look at Twitter right now, there's a lot of people getting short. And when you actually look at what the market is doing, yes, we did sell off Friday, but was that real selling or was that taking profit? And to me, that looked more so like it's Friday. We left those levels down below right at open. We're going to take profit, go back, test those levels, and then continue the move up on Monday. So that's more so what I believe. But like I said, we'll see what the overnight brings. And if we do get a lot of volume accumulated somewhere. But unless we do, like up is still, unless I see a valid reason to get short, which I don't right now. I'm not trying to swing any shorts. Like I said, intraday, if the levels approve so, I will take a stab at a short. But on the macro side of things, I'm still overall long biased based on this volume profile right here. Last week, you can see as well, I mean, last week's volume profile was so incredibly trendy. And I have a few videos on this on my YouTube as well on how to identify the end of a trend or identify when it's a trending market. I have a few trending videos. And they all really hover over volume profile. And as you can see, like I said, there just isn't a lot of volume being accumulated at any of these levels. This is just constant, equal buying. And when the sellers really step in, then we'll accumulate those big volume areas because we have sellers and buyers both partaking in the market. And we get those really high volume situations. But right now there's only one side really participating, and that's just the buyers. So yeah, we're waiting and looking for that. Overnight, we did have a little bit of a gap from this new week opening gap here, and it's pretty small. It's only about 3 or 4 points. I do expect that to break overnight. If it doesn't break overnight, it should break early morning. So I will be more so looking for that as a target for a long. If we do end up selling off a little bit tonight, maybe I look at getting long. If we get down to 15,620, which I don't think we would sell off that far. But if we did, I'd probably get long there and look for look for that 690 as a target. But anywhere else, I mean, like I said, we haven't put in a whole bunch of volume. And this is the 1 hour chart here on NQ. We haven't put in a whole bunch of volume anywhere for me to really get, hard on a bias. I'm going to put a level right there for that previous high at 857. I'm not shorting there. I'm just being aware that that's the current high of this move. But I don't even want to mark out this 720 area, this little bit of a consolidation that we had. There's not enough volume there for me to really want to take a hard position off of that. Let's see if there's anything on the regular trading hours only chart. We still have this pretty big gap down here at 15,480. That's where the gap kind of gets closed. So yeah, if we sold off, that would be the first area to look for like a long. If we did for some reason sell really hard, I don't expect that. I think 620, which we have down here as well. That's that previous initial balance high. I'll be looking to long there. Just not super short biased yet. We do have quite a few gaps that need filled. The lowest gap being around 15,280. But to see a 400 point sell off, unless we get a lot of volume stepping in, I don't expect to see that. Although it really wouldn't take much to get there, right? That's only 15,280. That's 400 points down. That's easily achievable within 2 days. Really even 1 day if overnight were to sell off really hard. So not like a cataclysmic sell-off event. It's more just like 1 or 2 days of some profit taking, and then we continue to move up. But yeah, overall weekly view is up unless something major happens. Even if we do get some sell-offs, I'll be looking for good swing long opportunities. But yeah, that's all I got as far as my weekly outlook goes. So if anyone has any questions, or Slade, if you want to pitch in anything.
No, man, I'm so done with macro right now. I'm happy just trying to hit good trades anyway. Every now and then I'll hit like a 40, 50 pointer, but I'm mainly in the 10, 20 point area. And I like that because I don't need to come in with the bias. I don't even need levels. So it's kind of cool. I just like log on, I'll find the read. And I think this trading style came from live stream. I didn't want to be boring. And I know someone said, and it's kind of stuck with me, live streaming trading can be like golf, right? Like you're waiting for a setup, it's slower pace, light clapping, not this extreme thing. And I get that, but I want to see how far I can take this. So this kind of intense style that I've been doing live streaming, I'm really trying to double down on and make it work. Because I think if I can make it work, it'll make for a entertaining live stream style. And I'm close to funded now, so once it's funded too, I'll be able to talk a little more crap, which is always fun for me. And then yeah, it's gonna be fun. But macro, I got my ES trend line. That's all I care about, and we're way above it. There's like zero hope for it, but I'm still like pure copium. I'm praying that this is a false breakout of the trend line, but we're so far away. I got no idea.
Yeah, and I think talking about your price action strategy that you got, I think it's really smart of you to be taking those shorter take profits, because you're not looking at, like I say, you're not really looking at the big picture. You're looking at the right now price action. And for you to have the knowingness and the discipline to say like, hey, we're not holding for the stars on these trades. We're taking these base hits, getting out and looking for the next one. I mean, we've seen it in your streams. It's actually it's more profitable that way. And then every once in a while, I mean, it's really clear that we're going to make a big move, and you're able to identify that and add to winners or hold that good position. But for the most part, like I say, you're really good at identifying what's happening in the now and getting in and out of those positions quickly, but also being right on them by identifying that correct price action.
Yeah, and I was gonna say the bigger trades, when they do come, they're so obvious. And like after I hit them, it always feels like the same thing. And the feeling is, it reminds me of how I trade when I'm not live streaming. It's like where you're patient, you're waiting for like one clear signal, and then that's it. You go and it's gonna be a good trade. Or at least you have like high conviction it's gonna be a good trade. Whereas like whenever I hit one of those trades, I'm like, damn, I should have just waited for that the whole time. But at the same time, it's like I want like a fast-paced live streaming. I want to be able to like hit a trade, talk a little crap, and be like, just I'll perform on any given day. You could take the levels away from my screen, you could take anything away, and I'll be able to just like perform. I think that's my goal. We'll see if it happens.
But it's entertaining too, because it gives people a view of like raw price action traders, and then also seeing those longer term like patience levels as well. I mean, that you demonstrate it well with like, hey, it's you can trade this way and it's a lot of work, but also you can trade this way too and it's not as much work, but you might not get to trade every day.
Bro, I will never not say your way is the best way. I don't think anyone should trade like me. I think you should have a base level of time and sales. Just so like even if you have like I remember your setup you just showed where it's a bear market that or bear day and we're at the bottom of the put wall on the screen and you're looking for that 75% half back. Well, if you know you're looking for the 75% half back play there, you should be able to identify did sellers at least slow down so I could have like an entry that has a chance at least.
Yeah.
Things like that will help a lot. You don't need to be a pro at time and sales. Like the shit I do is way too tough, but a basic understanding will get you very far.
Yeah, I think time and sales, understanding, like I like to use Delta, but Delta is also just a variance of time and sales. Um,
Yeah, and I use that too. I use it all. Yeah, you see me on streams. I love Delta. I think Delta's crazy because it's one of the most misleading. But if you have a broader picture that you're painting with it and not relying on Delta itself, then it's good.
yeah, like for me, on like any given candle, I won't pay attention to Delta, right? But then I always notice when Delta hits those huge numbers, right? When we have an irregular number of Delta, like if it's really, really high or we get one of those really big flips, then I'll pay attention to it. But like I said, just on any given candle and a trend, I'm not watching it, but it can really tell you a lot when you're applying it in the right context.
Yeah, definitely. And speaking of Delta, I remember, do you remember that day that we had that huge arc? It like price went straight up and then essentially went straight down with no bounces.
Yeah.
So that day, if you go through the Delta, I believe it was on the 15-minute candles, we have a 6,000 buy up Delta candle, and then it turns into 6,000 sell off Delta candle, maybe an hour later. And on pullbacks and stuff, you generally don't get the same amount of Delta in that extreme. Like 6,000 is a lot.
Yeah.
On the opposite side, so I took that long and I went to sleep and I got stopped out. But that was like an indicator, like, hey, this is crazy. You never see the same Delta line up on the opposite side of whatever type of day it is. A few hours later, like something happened that day and it was wild. But I knew that was a key sign. I still took the trade anyway. I could have saved myself some money saying this is too crazy for me. But I'll never forget that. I'm gonna remember that for when that happens again.
Yeah, it's almost like seeing like I don't know, it's weird and it's really hard to explain, but when you've watched it enough like we have, you can identify the difference between like a really hardcore selling Delta or just like a taking profit Delta. Is
Yeah.
you'll notice the aggression, especially in like time and sales. Like it won't be just like casual red, it'll be like big heavy red cells just like coming through aggressively.
Yeah, and time and sell has been getting harder and harder, especially I think volume's starting to drop off a little bit. At least it feels like it at
It,
times that I am trading.
it has been, and like I said, if you looked at the right here, this is, I'll go ahead and make this big too. So this is the monthly volume profile on the right. And you can see how as we've gone up in this trend, it's just been less and less volume the entire way up. We just keep on putting in less volume.
Yeah, and that's what makes it tough. So there's two things to make it tough. You need volume to read, right? So if
Yeah.
there's less volume, it's like 10 times harder to read. Second thing that makes it tough is these grinds up. They haven't. There's only been a few days, and I've been long whenever they happen, where the buyers have been irrational. I've been calling out saying they're crazy today. I'm getting long no matter what. Most of the days, it's almost like the slowest buying, but the sellers are unable to make a move. And then when they do make a move, it's very short-lived. They hit hard, they hit fast, and they get out. And I don't know if that's profit taking. I don't know what it is, but the sells are not trendy, and the buys are so low that they're sneaky if you're using time and sells like me. It's more like a very slow march up that at some point you just got to trust, but it doesn't. It looks like a C setup or below.
Yeah, and that's where these uptrends, they really bite people, because we'll have a 15 20, it'll be like 15 20 point pullbacks all day long, right? That just get bought up, bought up, and people just get used to those, and well, then they'll buy and it'll be a 15-point pullback, and maybe it goes to a 30-point pullback, but they're like, oh, it's still going to go up. But then we have one of those catastrophic sell-offs, right? They'll be like, oh, it's just like a little pullback, it's going up, and it's like it's not. It's not going up. And that's the hard thing about this market is you never know, is it just a little pullback that's going to get bought up, or are we selling off to the end of the day? And that's where I like to use, like I said, I'll unless we've tested half gap or hedge pressure, I have a really hard time FOMOing into a long or a short unless one of those two have tested.
Yeah, it's really tough. And I'll tell you this, if I wasn't reviewing my trades every day, there's no way I'd be surviving right now. The price action is changing, and I literally have to review and like understand what happened in the price action. It's like more intensely hard than it's ever been, like by far, at least. And that's like one thing that sucks about price action trading is, at least we do it like me, it's pure interpretation. I'm not waiting for a singular setup. So if you're not constantly refreshing and becoming updated to what the market actually is day by day, you're gonna get screwed. And that makes it like even tougher, because if you don't put in the energy, today isn't the same as yesterday, by no means. It's way safer to be a level trader right now.
Yeah, and I really feel bad for anyone who I don't necessarily feel bad, but anyone who has started trading within the last year, they have really experienced some massive changes in the market, in like the way the action goes. You know how we always talk about every week, month, cycle, the market's ever changing. Well, like we went from a violent bear market, and then we were in the most choppy, rangy market we've ever experienced, into now we're in a low volume uptrend bull market. And anyone, if you started 1 year ago to the date, you've experienced all three of those within 1 year on an extreme scale, right? It's been violent bear, violent chop, and then now violent buying. So like I said, is that they're getting a great learning experience if they haven't given up and lost their account. But there's been a lot of adaptation that's had to go on. Like even I've noticed myself, like I had to stop trading ES in February because of the range market, because it wasn't following the statistics, because I wasn't getting the follow through that I needed in any direction to make those trades in the long term profitable. And that's why I had to switch to NQ. I myself have had to do like a lot of changes just because the market has been changing on such a large scale.
Yeah, I'm the same way. I'm full NQ now. I still do. So I think ES, for me, ES will always be the leader, even if NQ kind of broke out more. I still think ES leads. This is all opinion, by the way. There's many people who say NQ is leader. But for me, just because the way I learned futures and all that, ES for me will always be the leader. So my major macro views will always come from ES and basic trend lines. I think trend lines have a lot of validity if you're not using like the 1 minute freaking crazy stuff that I see on YouTube. If you're using like the very long time frames, for me they mean a lot. And but now I'm on NQ all the way. I'll start the day. You've seen me on stream. I'll start the day with 0 levels, but then we see something happen somewhere and we create the level live. And every single time so far, that level has been relevant. So I just come in now completely unbiased. Let's make a few points and go.
Yeah, and I have to be really careful myself, or I have had to be really careful myself of not watching ES during the day, because in my opinion, ES holds a lot of volume and it holds a lot of the weight of the market. But we've seen NQ and ES be disconnected so much. So I'll look at ES and I'll be like, wow, it's really selling, or there's a lot of volume here in this area. And NQ just doesn't care. They don't. There's been so much, like I said, they haven't been tracking each other really much at all lately. And I've really had to be careful of not putting too much weight on ES if I'm trading NQ, just from the disconnect. Because as we've seen the 2 years prior, ES and NQ were so interconnected. They were moving almost not tick for tick, but value for value. If ES was at a bottom, so was NQ. And you could almost trade those two together perfectly because they were so in sync. But now I think because tech is so strong compared to the rest of the stock market, we've seen NQ has just taken a much larger leap because NQ is primarily just tech, whereas ES only has a certain percentage of tech and it has a lot of other things as well.
Yeah, for me, I feel like it was more like on NQ, if you took the same trade as ES, like I used to just only chart ES, not NQ. It felt like the main thing you had to avoid was a stop run, because they could get pretty big on NQ. It's called 20 points max, stop run. Like the real crazy ones, most of them are 10 to 15, but the real crazy ones up in the 20 area. ES wouldn't do that stop run. It might be 2-3 points max, and a lot easier to avoid. But now it's like NQ can trend, 50 points before that, pulls back or it just breaks out that much, and it makes it a lot more dangerous. So yes, other than macro is out my view.
Yeah, and I agree as well. I haven't even really charted ES just because I've been forcing myself just to watch NQ because they've been so disconnected. It's been tough. That was a really tough and weird change that I had to go through because I've been so, I think all of 2022, at least the last half of 2022, I was primarily an ES trader. So that was a really, really tough change that I had to go through to go back to NQ, which is what I started on. I started on NQ, but having to make that switch back was tough.
Yeah, I feel like that's just trading, adapting, and when you stop adapting, you die.
Yeah, exactly. Like if I have a week where I'm red, like if I had a week where I just sucked all week long, I start looking at myself. I mean, everyone has like a day or two where they're just off, and you can usually look at yourself and be like, hey, this is the play I wanted, and I just like either failed execution or sometimes plays just don't work, and that's totally okay. But if I have an entire week of taking those solid plays and they still weren't working, that's when I have to reevaluate myself and ask myself, like, are we seeing a changing condition in the market? Do I have to adjust my strategy? And what are the statistics that are most important to me right now? And that, like I said, because normally the way I trade and the statistics that I have, if they are failing, then usually it's a good signal that we're changing trend or the market conditions are changing. It's taken me a few years to be able to identify that it's changing. And now like I said, I've gotten pretty good at identifying when we're having a changing market condition.
Yeah. So I'm actually going so deep on this topic myself right now. Just okay, so like even if you could stare at yourself, like I think that's something I've been able to do like really well recently is just stare at my trades. Like let's look and find it. The next part is actually implementing them. So it's not just the self-awareness, it's being able to execute on improvements you want to make on yourself. And for me, that's been really tough to do. I've been doing it, but the most it happens is when it comes naturally. I don't know how to explain it yet. I think this is an awesome journey because I think once I figure out how to really implement self-reflecting changes on a daily, like where so I can become whatever I need to be constantly, I think being able to share that information with other traders can be awesome because we all know the base level, like what it means. Like, yeah, do this instead of this. But like implementing that into changing like how you operate automatically on a day-to-day basis, that's a completely different thing. And that's something that I've been really focused on lately. It's very hard to do. And when I figure out how to do it consistently, I'll definitely be sharing that information with everyone.
Yeah, and just reviewing those trades in general is like it's just so valuable, and you learn so much from yourself, right? It's
Yeah. Well, reviewing with trades will tell you what to do, but implementing the what to do is the hard part. Sometimes it's easy. It's like clearly that was a screw up. Like I should never do that again. But sometimes it's like it's core DNA, like who you are as a person, and making that change is like easier said than done.
I agree completely. Yeah, it's looking yourself in the mirror and be able to implement those changes is extremely tough sometimes, and just like breaking old habits as well. Like habits were created for a reason initially.
Exactly.
Right? Like
Exactly.
why did that habit get created? Well, because obviously we thought it worked, and now we have to unlearn that thinking that it worked. Like, okay, this doesn't work. Get it out of your head and implement this new stuff.
Yeah, exactly. That core stuff that's really with you, like being able to break that at will, at the snap of your fingers. That's not something easily done. I think if I figure that out, man, that might be the most valuable information in the trading game.
I agree. I agree 100%.
That's where my head's at. And one last thing about that too. I mentioned in like our private chat, I'm doing starting Monday. I am dedicating myself completely to trading, and I am excited. We don't know how long it will last. My goal is a year of just straight, like even when you get free time, right, and you watch a YouTube video, only watch trading videos, only review your own content. Like, what does it mean to really get lost in self improvement in a specific focus? We're not talking general self improvement. We're talking like If there's a football game on, you don't even know who's playing. You're only looking at the day, just completely self-absorbed in the one singular task. And so Monday, I'm legitimately starting that. I'm going to take out everything from my life, any distractions, and just like try to become insane about this game and like take it to the next level.
And that'll be nice to see too, because it'll get you back to your whenever you started this NFT journey thing that you went on. Get back to what the level and some of the
100%.
Yeah, get back to that Slade, because
Yeah.
like I said, I feel like your peak was probably when right before you started that was like your absolute peak. And not to saying that you're not good now.
No, I agree. And there's a level of obsession there, right, that I lost.
Yeah.
And so I'm not even trying to get to that level. I'm trying to get past that level.
Yeah, I would say it's just like a level of sharpness. If that's a better way to put it. Like the sharpness of just being just absolutely on.
Agreed. So we'll see what happens. It's gonna be a fun journey anyway.
Yeah, I believe so. But that's all I have for tonight, unless you have anything else you'd like to add.
Nope, just the trend line, and we're way above it. Nothing to like speculate on there.
All right. Well, anyone else in the Discord have any questions? I know there's a few of you left here. That went a little long, so I apologize. But if no one has any questions, then I'm going to thank you all for stopping by. Anyone that's watching on YouTube, thank you for watching all the way through. Please like and subscribe. Join the Discord so you can hop in on these live, ask questions. I think I'm going to start doing these in the Discord and then uploading them to YouTube later. So we'll see how that goes. But yeah.
And it's free. It's free. There's no paid rooms. There's no paid anything. There's no way we could accept your money even if you offer it.
Yeah, well, see, that's what's different about us, though, is we actually make our money through trading, and it would be a waste of our time to make a course because we would make less money doing that. So, yeah, we just want a place for anyone to hang out. We have a bunch of education and stuff in here for what we do, and you actually get to see it happen live. Like you said, El Oso, he's the one that's been talking. He streams every day. I post all my trades in the Discord every day. Sometimes I stream. So you guys can come in, check all that out. Like I said, lots of free education in here. And yeah, that's all we got for the day. Like I said, we'll be doing a voice chat again Tuesday morning in the Discord, pre-market, 1 hour pre-market, talking about how Monday went and what the rest of our plan for the week is going to be. Feel free to hop in and join on in that. And if anything else, have a fantastic week, everyone, and we will see you later.